Hi, welcome to LSAT Freedom. These are logic games tips, of course, presented by LSAT Freedom. LSAT Freedom is the only LSAT test preparation course created exclusively by Harvard Law School graduates. Tip number 1, read the conditions with a careful eye. Every word counts on the logic games. Now, some people may be like, well, of course you're going to read carefully. It's a standardized test. Why would you not? Well, we want to stress this point because on certain questions on the LSAT, you'd kind of be doing yourself a disservice if you're parsing every single word, trying to memorize what's in a passage, say in the reading comprehension. That's really a waste of your time. For example, on reading comprehension, you need to be reading for the structure of the passage, the main point, any type of logical techniques that the authors use, but you don't want to sit there and memorize what they're talking about, because a lot of these subjects are just totally superfluous to the logically significant question that you're going to be asked. So it is a little bit different. On the logic games, you can't just skim the conditions. You got to take every single condition and really scrutinize it very substantially. Of course, the test maker is going to try to confuse students. Misinterpreting a rule will result in incorrect answer choices, and don't think that the test maker has not gone through and thought about the common mistakes and then strategically put incorrect answer choices so that you think that you got it right, but the only reason you picked that answer choice and it made sense to you is because you made an error earlier on in your setup. So let's look at an example. Jack will finish earlier than Sawyer. Hurley will finish earlier than Jen, and John will not finish later than Ben. Imagining putting people kind of in a finished type of order situation. So here we have finish earlier than, earlier, the first two, and then the next one, this third one, we have not finish later than. So that one is that's just different. And sometimes they're going to want to change it up just to change it up. This is a little bit more than just changing it up, because logically it's a little bit more significant than had they said John or Ben will finish later than John, let's say, because what it really leaves open for the possibility is that John will finish, of course, not later than Ben, but it could also be equal to Ben. And that third condition really gives you that possibility. So it just depends on what kind of game you have. If the game allows ties, then you can't rule out a tie in that situation. So that's very important. It's a very small thing, but if you're not reading it closely and you're not scrutinizing the logical content of what's in there, then you can make mistakes. Number 2 is build skills necessary to succeed on the exam. You know the type of skills that they're going to test you on. Grouping skills, ordering skills, assigning type skills. I mean, that's what it's all about. Some of these games will require more than one skill. You need to approach it in a way that you have these skills in your toolbox when you're called on to use them. If you have to use more than one on one game, that's fine. It's no big deal. Some companies teach that, a hybrid game is like some special thing. It's really not. Different games require different skills, and you shouldn't try to categorize it into this is this type of game versus this type of game. Just do the skills that are called upon, and you'll be fine. So let's take a look at an example of grouping. This is a grouping skill. Juliet will be chosen for the team if and only if Kate is chosen. Now there's a key concept here of if and only if, and we explain this in some of our video explanations in our tutorials. But basically what this is saying is that if Kate is selected, then Juliet will be, but also it's saying that if Juliet is selected, then Kate will be selected. So basically we have a situation where if Kate is picked, that implies that Juliet was also picked, but that arrow goes in the opposite direction. If Juliet was picked, then Kate is also picked. So the existence of one implies the other. Either Kate or Juliet, if one of them is selected, you go ahead and put the other one in as well. Number 3, it's not what you know, but what you can find out. You need to read and understand the rules, of course, but that's necessary and not sufficient. What can be sufficient is you take the rules and then you apply them to gain more information about the game by making inferences. And of course, the key skill here that they're testing is inferential reasoning. So they'll tell you X, Y, and Z, you take that information, apply it in a way that you can then infer A, B, and C. There's two main types. The first one is, what does a condition tell us about the rest of the game? You take a rule, then you make whatever inferences you can. Two, what does a condition mean for the game when combined with other conditions? You get a rule, you look to your other rules, you combine accordingly, and then you get more information to apply in the game. So let's just take a look at the first type real quick. Saeed will perform immediately before Charlie. So this is like an ordering type situation where we're ordering these guys in a row maybe. We represent that by basically just saying Saeed and Charlie. We kind of lock it in that little box like that. No matter what, that's going to move together. So we know that, and that's fine, but you also need to do, and this is a very basic, and it gets much more difficult on the exam, but for example, we know that Charlie cannot be number 1 because Saeed's always got to perform before him, and we know Saeed cannot be 5 because Charlie always has to perform after him. So those are just little things. You get a very simple rule. You can then make different notations on your game, and of course it gets much more advanced from here, but this is just an example of what type of inferences you need to be doing, how you need to take information and then apply it on the game. What about combining rules? If Echo does not participate in the seminar, then Ana Lucia must participate, but if Shannon participates, then Ana Lucia cannot participate. Now what we would do is do a contrapositive, get the Ana Lucia in basically a positive format, and Shannon would be negative. You can check out the course if you want to build that skill. It's definitely necessary to do well. But suffice it to say, we'll say if Echo is not participating, then Ana Lucia will. But if Ana Lucia is, then Shannon will not participate. And again, we took the contrapositive of that second statement. But that allows us to combine this. Now we know that if Echo is not going to participate, then neither will Shannon right off the bat, which is good because it just cuts out a step and makes it easier to make inferences and apply that. And who knows how Shannon not being in will affect the rest of the game. So thank you for checking in with LSAT Freedom, the only LSAT preparation course designed exclusively by graduates of Harvard Law School. We urge you to check us out, www.lsatfreedom.com. Thank you.